One of the inadvertent, well, one of the maybe the, yeah, inadvertent or unplanned for benefits, if you will, of the story of Erika is that people are really understanding for the first time or are being introduced to a level of societal or society predation and targeting that maybe they haven't seen before or heard before or considered before. The good news or bad news, depending upon how you look at it, is that this is not at all new. It is not at all, I don't know what the word is, it's not at all rare. But here in New York, home of the Hamptons and Wall Street and hedge funders in the Upper East Side and money that you can not believe, where everybody knows a few billionaires. I mean, think about this. Most of the time, when I grew up, as a kid or whatever, in Florida, where I'm from, not Florida, Florida, never heard of a billionaire. It might have been a millionaire, but not a billionaire. And Mr. Howell was about as close as we could get. But I never understood, my naivete, as it were, but I never understood, nor could I ever believe the level of targeted predation of, please don't think me sexist. Would you make me a promise? Can I get your word on this? I'm a realist. I get into trouble because I say things the way they are. And I've been around. And when your formative years as a young man, when you start prosecuting and you start to kind of look at people as good guys and bad guys, and you start cataloging new forms of predator. Remember what a predator is. It's somebody who basically fixes on prey. That may not be always, mayhem and tragedy. It could be salespeople. It could be a pool shark or a card shark or a shark or whatever your version of it is. It could be just a salesman, somebody who takes sales classes, how to find fish, gamblers, people in Vegas trying to find the new whale and the new sucker, and professional wrestling, which I have a lot of experience in, where the audience is necessarily the mark, and you're creating an image and a storyline, good versus evil, babyface, heel, So predation is, maybe it's a bad word. You're learning human behavior for whatever it's worth. But the story that was advanced, and that has been suggested now, is that Erika Kirk may have been born, bred, or just a quick study in trying to get her hooks in somebody powerful, rich, a man of means. And there was a, please forgive me, please, a kind of a naive sort of a, I'm not saying Charlie was stupid, believe me, I'm not, but kind of a yuck kind of, and I think that was part of his charm. I'm just a regular guy with regular ambitions, and then here comes Erika. So when I heard the story, and when I heard people suggest that maybe she had her eyes on Charlie, or was set up by maybe some in her immediate family to cement the grift. Did you hear about Sante and Kenneth Kimes? This was a story, oh my God, mother and son grifter. That was a weird story. I've seen this before. Let me give you an example of how bad it is. This is here in New York. Do you know that there were a number of big this is a while back, big Wall Street hedge funders? Now the Silicon Valley people are the way. That's where the predation goes, because their money is just, it doesn't even have, there's no more zeros. It's beyond. But anyway, there was a story I read and I heard it as a rumor, and then it was kind of verified sort of in news. A lot of these young guys were having vasectomies and freezing their own firm. Can I say firm? Is that on the YouTube list? I don't know. But you know what I mean? Yeah, something like that. Freezing their own. Because women that they would meet sometimes after a tryst, and while they would engage in something like that, I believe, without any type of protection. What's that? Is it bareback? It's a terrible term. But sometimes these women would be known to go in to excuse themselves, go into the restroom, and try to, forgive me, retrieve the sample for IVF insemination to force pregnancy and support. Think about that. In the area, it became known to a lot of women, some of them, let me tell you something. Nothing in this country can compete in any way like certain foreign countries and women. Please, I'm telling you the truth, who will do the following. They meet a guy, rich. They go to his apartment. She stays a couple of days. The next thing you know, she's got a blouse hanging in the closet. Maybe there's a magazine. She subscribes to a magazine. Oh, I'm sorry, it's one of my... He doesn't care. He's in love, he's in sex, he's in whatever he is. And she establishes a foundation. She establishes that she's lived there. And it's almost immediate. And then after a certain amount of time, when the statutory amount of cohabitation takes place, she now is a co-lessee, or she is a lessee, or she's on the lease, or she claims that she's now you can call it a hostile lessee, but that she's on the lease, that basically she has to be evicted. You have to go to housing court to evict her because she has validated, or she has satisfied the statutory amount of time. She has some connection to it. She's getting magazines or this. She got clothes there. She might even gets mail. The doorman knows her. And this guy said, wait a minute, this is my place. Oh, no, it's not. So what they do is, and she'll also claim some kind of violence where they throw him out. Oh, yeah. One was a woman who was very famous. She was very famous for saying that, listen to this, the corner of cupboard doors, the corner is very sharp. And she would almost like a professional wrestler with a gaff. She'd hit herself, blood, bleed, call the police. He's thrown out of his apartment. She lives there. So eventually what happens is there's a settlement. She gets $1 million. She's out of her life. She waives any and all squatters or eviction. I mean, shall I go on? Jackie Kennedy, Princess Di, the royals. There are people who are women, and you know this, who are bred, hatched, groomed as brood mares, trying to find the man. Debutante balls. Again, there's a real predator aspect to Erika, but she's not that bright. These people, this is the oldest grift, the oldest gyp. Well, I shouldn't say that's an ethically unfortunate term. But these are con men. These are carnies. This is old. So that being said, and I'm not excusing anybody, but anything I hear or under any of the allegations I hear, I think to myself, there's nothing that rare about them. But in any event, in this latest aspect of this, and by the way, how much do you think, listen to me, how much do you think Erika doesn't even know herself? How many things do you think that our dear friend Candace has revealed or will reveal that Erika doesn't even know? So the bride of Charlie, which, by the way, remember, is quite the reaction. I mean, Dan Bongino even said, And I quote, I get lightheaded doing that. Now, the time of this is now focusing and tightening around a kind of a new figure. And I admit, just when I think, well, is there anybody interesting? Oh, yeah. This new person who, you may know these names better than I, but the person who's kind of central to the whole thing is Tyler Boyer. Don't you love these names? Now, I'm going to say something. And I don't necessarily adhere to this, but I'm just saying this. If I didn't know better, some people may say, this TPUSA group, they don't seem to be very diverse. Oh, no. No. It almost sounds like, the names are so interesting. I always liked, and I like him a little, no disrespect, but I always like Tucker Carlson and his brother Buckley. This is my daughter, my sister Muffy, Wetherington, Heathcliff, Penrose, Turlington the Fourth. That kind of the Thurston Howell, Meriwether Prescott, I like the name. My nickname always was Pocahontas Lipschitz, but that's me. But don't you love these? Who are these people? And there was that one creepy kid that I've lost from my mind who sits around. I don't even know what his name is. Wetherington. I want to have that West Africa clicking sound. My name? That's my name. Just as it sounds. How do you spell it? Just like it sounds. Anyway, so there's this wonderful new aspect of it. The allegations, the questions raised are no longer kind of peripheral, to make a long story short. One could argue they're kind of structural. Now, according to Candace, who, by the way, were you old enough to remember This Is Your Life with Ralph Edwards? Remember that? Oh, the best one was This Is Your Life Junior Samples, if you get a hold of that. This isn't your life, Candace. This is like a dossier. This is a provenance. It's a review that nobody's ever seen. But according to Candace, who knows what she's talking about, the most significant, relationship that Erika had with TPUSA was not initially Charlie, which is how this plot kind of evolves, but rather Tyler Boyer. Tyler, get another mint julep, will you? Heathcliff, get Tyler. Would you like an aperitif? So that relationship, Candace suggests, may hold, in essence, kind of like the key to unraveling and understanding how the events kind of unfolded. And the question that lingers to many people who really study this thing very assiduously is deceptively simple. How did Erika Kirk know Tyler Boyer? How does she know this? Because I don't know. I don't believe anything anybody says. Seriously, by the way, if you're just new to this, don't believe anything. That's the story they're telling you. It's like that scene with, was it Tim Roth or whatever, in Reservoir Dog, where he's learning his lines and learning his role. And so when Candace apparently sat down with Erika, she says that question couldn't be clearly answered. And again, I'm paraphrasing, and please, if I got any of this thing wrong, please correct me. I want to be so right. I'm listening. I'm not studying this. I'm kind of getting an overview, so I might be sloughing over something, I admit. But Erika allegedly couldn't recall how the connection began. Isn't that weird? Normally sometimes you can remember people in high school. You think yourself, wow, that's weird. That's a long time ago. But this wasn't that long ago. And how many people in TPUSA did you meet? But Boyer himself offered a kind of a confident narrative. He claims that Erika reached out to him in 2018. She was enthusiastic about supporting a Trump rally. She was Miss Arizona after a while. And remember Mark Lindsay, Arizona. Paul Revere and the Raiders? Ask your parents. And anyway, he claims that he was excited and giddy, and he put her front and center, and he introduced her to Charlie. And from there, well, things progressed quickly and magically. Now, in Tyler Boyer, I'm sorry, I can't get this. I always think of Boyer Co., great bodybuilder. In the Boyer's recount of this, or his version of this, he not only facilitated or greased the skids of the intro, he coached Charlie. Why? Because Charlie, they always make him out to be like, I'm not saying he is, but it's like, hey, Charlie, what? Charlie doesn't date anybody. They think they got their hooks on him. He was their target. He was their sap. So he apparently coached and instructed Charlie through the early stages of the relationship. He described, pep talks. Come on, Charlie, you can do it. Come on. Take one for the team, Charlie. Come on. Go get her, Tiger. Come on. Go, boy, go. There was strategic positioning. He even advised Charlie how to handle the first date. Because Charlie, that's Charlie. The way they make him out to be. I think Charlie knows Charlie's no fool. But this is the story. Because remember, history would be a wonderful thing if only it were true. Winston Churchill said one time, history will be kind to me. How do I know this? I'll write it. Now, the implication of all this is striking, that Charlie was not the architect. Others were guiding him. And by the way, nothing new. Mothers have done this a long time, getting their... Remember Cinderella, getting the daughters married off to the prince? Okay. Anyway. But there is not one version, as you can imagine, of how Erika and Charlie met. There are several. Which one do you like? Think about this. Don't ask yourself, if you have your spouse, husband, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, it might be a Tuesday versus a Wednesday, but you don't have different versions of it, because with these people, nothing's real. Nothing. It's performative. It's theory. It's made up on the spot. It's the grift. It's the con. It's the carny. It's the work, to use a wrestling term. So Erika describes receiving a DM from Charlie while she was in the Hamptons. Oh, the Hamptons. Oh, I was over the Hamptons, over the Muffy. We're at the Hamptons. We're at the Bay Club. Yes, having Cosmos by the... So she always drops this. I was in the Hamptons. She's such a phony. First of all, you don't have to tell me where you are. I was at a bowling alley. Phone rang, and I went to the bar. No, I was at the Hamptons. So she gets this call while she was in the Hamptons. So Charlie apparently describes some urgent need to meet her. He can't stand it. I've got to meet her. Another telling or version of this places their first meeting at the TPUSA office. Still another one recounts a near encounter in Israel months earlier, framed as some kind of divine coincidence. In the Holy Land, for God's sake. Divine, the pairing. Never since the Magi and the star in the horizon has there ever been such an intricate application of divine matchmaking than this. And each version kind of overlaps, but none perfectly aligns, like, to use the Stephen Jay Gould, non-overlapping magisteria. It's like when people talk about science and religion, they don't anyway. And if you haven't noticed, this is where a lot of the suspicion grows. Now, you'll find something out. When timelines diverge in high-profile relationship, a lot of people begin asking whether is their memory faulty, or is this kind of storyline, this narrative, being shaped? Guess which one the answer is. Guess. That's right. Candace leans towards the latter of the two. She suggests that Erika's story shifts depending on the context and maybe the audience. And with Erika, it's true, nothing's real. Where she's from, did she date, did she drink, did she this, what she do, where she's from, who's her parents, who's her mother, nothing. It's this seemingly fluid, malleable, protean, transmogrifying narrative that just shapeshifts and takes any direction it wants. Now, complicating matters, and this is something which is great. And by the way, if you can follow this, good for you. Good for you. You're good. But to, as I said, complicate matters further, it's the revelation that Cabot Phillips, there's another one. Cabot Phillips. Sounds like a law firm or a private school. Where did you go? I went to Cabot Phillips, where I met Tire Boyer. Yes, we were doing a couple of chukkers. I was on the green in my polo pony when we met, when we collided. Anyway, Cabot's a longtime friend of Charlie's. Notice how Charlie's just set up. I mean, Charlie didn't even know. He didn't have a chance. I mean, they were coming at him left and right. They had him picked. But anyway, according to Cabot, who allegedly dated Erika before Charlie, he got there first, allegedly. Oh, what do we know? I'm just telling you the story. Not that it matters. But he dated her. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that, but you know what I'm saying. Right? Did we? Do you think it ended? I don't know. Everybody's. I'm not suggesting the horizontal mambo, but I'm just saying. You never know. So, do you think these two knew it? Do you think they were aware of it? Did it matter? Was it disclosed? That remains kind of unclear. But normally, especially when you're younger, you say, "Hey, wait a minute. You were there first, so to speak." Oh, okay. I don't know if I'm too crazy about this. Well, then comes the financial layer, and now it gets really complicated. Candace introduces claims, allegations, suspicions that perhaps millions of dollars were allegedly, perhaps, maybe, theoretically, putatively missing from TPUSA accounts, specifically something called Turning Point Action or some subsidiary which Boyer, Tyler, oversees. And she states that she heard from sources within Charlie's circle that up to maybe, allegedly, can't say for sure. This is a story. You know me. I'm just telling you. I don't swear. I'm not saying independently I know this. Oh, no. But maybe, for the sake of argument, assuming arguendo for the sake of argument, versus innuendo, which means an Italian suppository, but I digress. But maybe up to 10 mil might have been unaccounted for. And TP leadership denies any wrongdoing, of course. And others inside the organization allegedly confirmed internal concerns. So what are you going to do? But this at least this is for background. Remember, this is non-hearsay because I'm not offering this for the truth of the matter asserted, but merely for the fact that it was said. Think of it as res gestae for those of you trial lawyer evidence scholars out there. Now, this is not magical or mystical intrigue. It is governance. When large nonprofit and political entities move significant sums between, arms and PACs and affiliated companies and subsidiaries and subdivisions, as you can imagine, sometimes scrutiny follows. And the reason why is because that's sometimes where things get kind of missed. Allegations of shell corporation transfers, of intercompany flows, and one would say opaque oversight. It is said, some allegations like that have surfaced from independent commentators as well, and then maybe legal letters and the like were reportedly issued. We'll see. But Candace, remember, that's the background. What she's suggesting is she's raising another element. Lori, Erika's mother, Lori was placed on the board of it was described as some kind of data-oriented, data-based company connected to the organization. And the stated explanation, according to all these people, was that they needed a familiar name or somebody familiar with this. And a lot of people, critics and those who are far more assiduous and far more querulous than I am, suggest question that rationale. Why that board? Why that rule? Why her? Why? Well, who knows? Now, from here, Candace constructs what some observers describe as a multi-level theory, so to speak, a multi-level hypothesis, if you will, theory, structure, stratum. At one stratum, one layer, one part of this is what has been referred to as elite networking. The idea that political and, we've talked about this, corporate families strategically cultivate influence and position their children through schools, getting them into the right school, mentorship pipelines, ideological networks, political parties, advantages, marriages. It's again, this is This has been around since, oh my God, since day one. Another aspect, another consideration involves education environments. You see, and this has been talked about schools, Tesseract and all these, certain charter or donor institutions, these people will suggest, they function as kind of like not breeding grounds, but scouts, so to speak. Talent pipelines, like talent scouts. Identifying and shaping future political figures. Look at Barack Obama. Look where he came from. Remember that? That's one thing about these, they're always looking for the bench. Who next? What next? Where's the bench? Where are we going with this? It's a fascinating story. Not, how do we say this? Not mind control, perhaps. We're not full-blown Operation Artichoke or anything like that yet. But, and this is a fantasy, but grooming and scouting for leadership and influence for the next time, either interfamilially or extra familial. And another aspect concerns, in essence, a consolidation of power inside TPUSA's system, or that dread word, ecosystem. If the same circle, the same group of people, the same cadre, the same consortium, so to speak, if the same group controls nonprofit arms and PACs and vendor companies and messaging apparatuses and, well, then that concentration invites scrutiny. If you have the same people from the same group with the same names and the same relatives, all of them in something of this, this isn't some mom and pop, nonprofit. This is huge. This thing is, and I'll bet you the monies that are reported aren't even half as big as they are, because you can always redistribute things. But this draws scrutiny. So within this very interesting labyrinth, this multi-layered, multi-tiered, this lattice work of subdivisions, Erika becomes both the product and the participant. She, all of a sudden, look how this happens. Where does she come from? She gets in there. She's like a virus. You know how a virus goes in like an mRNA? It goes in, and what does a virus do? It reconstructs the DNA. It rewires everything. It's almost like an AI. It's like recursive self-improvement, the AI AGI tool that goes in and rewrites itself. So what Candace is saying, what she argues, and I think very interestingly, is that Lori was deeply influential, very much, in shaping Erika's persona. Powerful mothers are, no problem. Many sources, according to Candace, describe Lori as strategic, ambitious, driven, wanting the best for her daughter. Again, I think to be expected. Pageant world, that's another one. Oh my, you do talk about. I can't say enough. And you heard me, and you might think I'm being a little bit rough. Pageants are, if that's not social engineering, I don't know what is. But pageant folks, contributors, portrayed Erika as highly, highly driven. And then Candace is so good. If you can follow this genealogy, divorce documents, biographical discrepancies, all of them cited. Her research team, they're all given as examples of kind of like, not narrative, but storyline manipulation. As the story, as the background, as the undercover background develops. And then there are grief moments and the application. Remember, part and parcel, critical to Erika, is the notion of the performative aspect of grief. I mentioned the other day, the SOTU, the State of the Union Address. Erika appears as a guest of honor. And as I told you, there was a very, very visible contrast between her composure and the raw, open, and the absolute, unfettered, unedited, unexpurgated, real grief of another mother who was the woman who's I forgot her name, sorry, but the woman whose daughter tragically, the Ukrainian young lady who was stabbed on that light train. It was brutal. It was brutal. Not beautiful, brutal. It was brutal. Now, many, as you can imagine, interpreted Erika's demeanor as poised and almost watching her. Oh, so that's grief, huh? Oh, I should make a note of that. Ooh, head down. She doesn't do the looking up, always looking up either to God or to Charlie. You know the routine is performative. Remember, when you're doing something that's not real to you, just like a free thrower has a pattern, 3 times bounce, done, shake, 1, 2, 3, up. When people bat, they do this. I mean, it's a ritualized kind of a thing. It puts you into the mindset, into the zone, so to speak. Because remember, Erika's got to do this thing all the time. She can't wait. She thinks she has to give this performance because to her, every recording might be not her last one, but the one that becomes cemented. So she makes sure you get the same act every single time. Now, as you know, grief is personal. Yes, it is. Grief is personal. It's individual and it's unpredictable. Yet in the court of public opinion and perception, authenticity is what we say is currency. That's the only thing that matters. And once you have any kind of doubt that creeps in, well, every gesture, every manipulation, every gesticulation, every grimace, every surprise, every sigh, every dab. People watch. Does she start with the left eye first, the right eye? Does she do it without? You see, what is this thing? She always stops this flood of tears. She doesn't want the mascara to run but it never does. And I'm sure somebody somewhere is going to look through some kind of analysis to see whether lacrimation, to see whether tear ducts are even activated. Do they use drops? I know this sounds brutal, but don't think it hasn't been thought of. Now, as you can imagine, online reaction, this is the audience, has been, well, to put it frankly, polarized. People who love Candace, praise Candace for investigating what others even avoid. Those who hate Candace, and those on the payroll, accuse her of, of course, conspiracy framing and being a demon, just like our good friend Dan Bongino. He succinctly describes it as such. Some go even further. Some invoke historical intel programs. I mentioned like Artichoke and Bluebird and MK Ultra. Menticide, brainwashing, more not just as well. I don't know if it's legitimately or some metaphor for social engineering or just ladder climbing, but that rhetoric intensifies the trauma. And what's interesting also is that it moves far beyond, as we're talking about, documented evidence. Now, at its core, let me get down to this. At its very core, the controversy is not about. It's not about. I don't know what you want to call it, not mysticism or whatever. It's about power, raw, naked power, influence, and controlling the narrative, the story, the history, controlling history. To the victor go the spoils, and to the victor go history. History is written by the winners. Napoleon said history is a myth agreed to by men. And I keep saying, Tolstoy said, history would be a wonderful thing if only it were true. So you're talking about what is the official narrative of the history inside a major conservative organization. It's about whether relationships were organic strategically, were they orchestrated or orchestrated strategically, and it's about financial transparency and internal, siding and factionalism. Remember, it all comes down to this, my friend. Not money, this. I'm sorry, it's an old joke. It's money. And it's about media figures and media types who once stood aligned, now they're all clashing. And is there proof of any kind of orchestration? Is there any proof? If he said, all right, Candace, what do you got? Do you have proof? Well, no conclusive evidence I've seen as of yet. But is there smoke? Oh, my God, are you kidding? It looks like a forest fire. Others insist it's kind of a projection. And by the way, there are people who find themselves, for some particular reason, either standing up for Erika with such a perfervid focus, either because of, I don't know, either they really love her or they're paid. I don't know, but lo and behold, they're really going nuts over this. But what Candace is doing is she's at least giving you a hypothesis, kind of a structural belief system that can be used to explain later on. The next episode is going to focus on Erika's, I believe, pageant history. And, oh, this is getting great. Don't you love this stuff? Seriously. And whether those revelations, clarify or whatever, that's up for you to decide. I can't tell you what to think. I'm telling you what's being said. Remember that? Now, but for now, the storyline that is unfolding, the storyline, the arc, so to speak, is a collision. This kind of a wild black hole, so to speak, of personalities, money, influence, deceit, sex. Inside the modern conservative movement, you've got these Tyler Boyer stands at the intersection. It's like when we last left our team. It's like Dynasty. Even the names. He stands at the intersection of introduction and finance and organizational power. And Erika stands at the intersection of narrative and identity. And Charlie stands at the center. At least that's the way they portray him. I really believe that they think that he was just an idiot. I really do. And by the way, the audience is left asking, is this coincidence? Is this ambition? Is this orchestration? I don't know. And the next episode, oh my God. It may sharpen the answer. It may deepen the mystery. But that's the way it is. And it's fascinating. And it goes to show you how to really, truly understand everything. This is I hope I didn't waste a lot of your time. Rather, maybe this is too thorough. But this is a fascinating story. And I keep saying, and please don't think that I'm in any way mocking Charlie. I love that guy. I never met him. But he's somebody, I'm proud to have him as my son. I'm proud to know him. And I think sometimes we should not go into the world necessarily suspecting everybody. But I don't think he knew what hit him. I don't think he knew. When you're playing in a world of geopolitical powerhouses, multi-millions, probably billions of dollars, but a political and a social movement and a power, and you're at the intersection of such, you're at the intersection, it's beyond anything anybody's ever seen. So, my friends, I thank you immensely. Your comments are phenomenal. What do you think? What was it? What should I ask next? What frame for me where I'm going with this? And remember one thing. Let me explain something to you. I talk to you about this. I have no interest in going on and talking with other people on other shows. No. Because, they're trying to... I'm not going to tell you the ones that have asked. I don't think it's important. But my focus is on talking to you. I don't want to go on some other show with somebody who I've got to explain something from day one. You understand the story. You understand it. And I am what I think Candace is. I want to, believe it or not, this is not a game. This isn't just like, and this week, I'll pretend I care about Charlie Kirk. And then next week, I'll be a conservative. And next week, there are people who do this. I'm not going to mention names, but you know who they are. Whatever. You don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind's blowing. Whatever they think is it Nancy Guthrie? Okay, I'll go there. Is it Prince Andrew? I'll go there. I'll do wherever the numbers are. I go wherever I feel it. And sometimes, I'll be honest, I've been the only one who's felt something. But I promise you one thing. If I tell you something, it's because I believe it. And you can tell when I'm really into something or when I'm or when I'm just discussing it. Like I'm doing a newsman. Like I'm just reading a storyline. This isn't a storyline. The more I get into it, this is serious. This is my unabiding respect for Candace Owens. Absolute 100% respect and awe for her diligence and her exactitude and her brilliance. And my post-mortem, that's a terrible thing, my respect for the legacy of Charlie Kirk. So please like the video. Please subscribe. And I've got some questions in the comment section. Pick one, answer them, all or one, but lend me your brilliance and comment as you see